Welcome to Do Good by Doing Better. I'm your host, Eric Duell. It's hidden in plain sight, all around us, and it's a growing threat. I'm talking about experience debt and how it threatens to break the relationship between consumers and the brands they love. Welcome to the second episode of Do Good by Doing Better. Technically, it's the second. It's the first full-length episode. If you caught the official first episode, it was an introduction, saying hello and introducing myself and talking a little bit about what I hope we can do here together on the series. We're going to try some different things, and I'm glad you're along for the journey. And I hope that you'll reach out and let me know what you think and your suggestions and what you'd like to hear more about. I've been wanting to dive into the topic of experience debt for some time and really raise the flag on this growing threat. And the genesis of where we are today begins about 30 years ago, and that's when the public internet first came on the scene. And it's really hard to overstate the dramatic changes that have happened in that time and how the world's economic production and commerce and consumption, all those different activities have become inextricably linked through the internet. I have the benefit of having been on the front line of that transformation as at that time, graphic designer, new media designer, web developer. At that time, we kind of did it all. But it was exciting, and every day was filled with technical puzzles and creative challenges. We were basically inventing new ways to interact and transact. I was fresh out of school and dove headfirst into figuring out how we could transform the way we connected with each other and brands, and how we could use web browsers and web technology and databases and e-commerce tech to do all kinds of amazing things. You wouldn't have to call in anymore to order a plane ticket or go to a ticket counter. I mean, what's not to love about that, right? I also look back and see it as I remember where I was type of event. When something major happens, or you just feel that there's a new paradigm that's clicking or something big changing, and you first get a glimpse of the future and where it's going. It's the same thing that happened when I first walked into an Apple store and picked up an iPad, and I literally said out loud, "I get it." It just popped out. And there are lots of other moments in media and technology and popular culture that now we would look back and say the launch of Netflix. And I'm not talking about the streaming service. Of course, certainly that was a big deal, but talking about the DVD by mail service, that was transformative. And of course, streaming TV, the iPhone, and the moment we're living through right now with the appearance of generative AI, there are all these moments for me personally where I look back and go, okay, I remember what was going on in my life and what was happening. The thing is that the impact of these shifts can be rapid and unexpected. I think if we look back 3 or 4 years ago, we would not have seen the way that ChatGPT and now generative AI more broadly has come into the market and really just garnered so much attention and so much investment, and is leading to new products and the remaking of career paths of thousands of developers and engineers and knowledge workers and creatives. And of course, with these developments, the market will sort out the winners and losers, and then we'll adapt to a new normal, at least until the next disruption comes along. And having seen enough of these moments where you go, oh, that's big, I've learned to take a beat and just stop and reflect and then consider, how do we move forward? Despite all of life's transformative experiences in these moments, I find that many truisms continue to be true. And one such truism is that brands matter. Brands may actually matter more now than at any time in the past, at least in recent memory, because a brand's reason to exist, I'm talking about the promise that each brand makes to benefit consumers like you and me. That promise has the power to bring us together. Brands fulfill these promises in the way that they create moments of emotional resonance, things that are meaningful where we actually feel something positive in the interactions we have with these brands and our products. And in these moments when we find our lives to be better or a problem solved or improved, or maybe just having a moment of pleasure through a smell or a taste, it's through these brand experiences where loyalty is earned and deep-seated preferences are formed. You're only going to buy this kind of detergent. You drive this kind of car. You prefer this type of clothing. It's because of some positive interaction, some feeling you had about that brand in most cases. Brands are not simple conceptual abstractions, and the best brands exist as an extension of the people that work to bring them to life. And it's those people who we as consumers engage in moments of emotional connection and resonance with those brands. And I'm wrestling with something that I'm feeling right now about this moment in time. Not that something's changed, but that it actually needs to. And the change I sense we need is in the direction, in the way that brands are delivering experiences. And that it's a moment to get back to basics and clear away the growing clutter that disrupts moments that matter with consumers. Here's my take. As more and more of our interactions become digitized and shaped by the systems and policies that power those interactions, the relentless focus necessary to make amazing products that deliver on each brand's core promise, it's now taken a backseat to optimization and efficiency, driven by the imperative to maximize profits. And this imbalance has led to a growing accumulation of experience debt, which gets in the way of the experiences that we would otherwise love with brands. And as I mentioned at the top, experience debt is this twist on the concept of technical debt. It's the digital equivalent of what happens when we keep leaving dirty dishes in the sink after making a meal and no one cleans up. Soon the sink is full and becomes unusable, so what do? A temporary fix. You move the dishes out of the sink to the counter. But eventually, if you don't do the dishes, the counter fills up and you have to implement further workarounds to keep the meals coming, like resorting to a week of eating only soup because the only clean utensils you have are spoons. And at some point, the madness and maybe even the smell forces a stop so that you can clean everything up. Now, turning back to experience debt, it might not be as obvious or odious as our stinky sink example, but when we think about interactions with brands, it's easy to sense in moments when things don't work right or feel like they should. The buildup of experience debt can sour and disrupt even the strongest emotional connections between consumers and brands. As an example, I recently stopped in at a national home improvement retailer store to get a custom quote for a storm door. I waited 30 minutes to be served while the loan associate in the department fought to get an offer that had been advertised applied to another customer's invoice. Intervention by the associate required calls to the support center and long hold times for the frustrated employee. After all that, the customer's order was placed, but with an incorrect offer code on purpose, because that's all they could get through the system, and that further required the customer to return to the store within 2 days, but not after, to have it overridden by a manager. I witnessed that and thought, what a waste of time and opportunity. It's a senseless example of how experience debt destroys value and can tarnish a brand. This occurred at the point of sale, which is one of the most critical moments of truth in the relationship between a brand and the consumer. And even worse, it wasn't just the one customer that was affected. There were 4 stakeholders: the customer, the associate, the call center support rep, and myself. Other examples like this that we've all likely experienced: calling a customer service number that makes it difficult to reach an agent, waiting on hold for an hour to solve an issue that we didn't create, apps and websites that don't let you fully manage all aspects of your relationship, and brands that claim to be about one thing and then do the opposite. It makes me wonder if the trend we're seeing about consumers wanting more in-person experiences in their lives today is because of an unconscious desire to avoid experience debt. Experience debt collects over time and for many reasons, but in my experience, more often it comes from quick and dirty solves or from cutting corners to meet deadlines. It can also develop due to a lack of design forethought or gaps in communication or misaligned priorities between teams. And experience debt doesn't just impact consumers. It affects frontline workers as well. If you think about the store associate in my experience of trying to order a storm door, that frontline worker was affected too. And based on situations I've encountered, experience debt is often caused by financial, political, policy, and scheduling pressures or conflict. I've seen it play out many times. A team recommends improvements. Finance wants a guarantee that there will be no negative impacts to profitability. Channel owners object to changes that impact their touchpoints. Call center leaders fret about frontline workers' ability to adapt to too many changes. And the meeting adjourns with no decision. Each of these reasons, when given not to move forward, shows fear and a lack of courage. It also reveals, in my view, a disinterest in serving the consumer and, by extension, a lack of true commitment to the brand itself. The impact of even a single poor interaction is real, both on brand perception and the downstream economic consequences. I know that this is true because I've led many studies that show when a consumer has a negative experience when first using a product, another moment of truth, it permanently impacts the lifetime value of that customer. Here's my take. I believe it's time for a comprehensive back-to-basics effort to rescue brands from this atrophy and degradation caused by the runaway growth of experience debt. The first thing we can do, for those of us that create, design, and deliver products and services, it's time to re-anchor on our brands and their purpose. After all, we're the ones that bring a brand to life, so we should really stop and think about the answer to this question. Do the people in our organizations believe and internalize why the brand exists, what it stands for, how it delivers value to consumers, and their essential role in that process? Integrating these ideas and conversations into everyday discussions will help keep them top of mind and help them remain as a touchstone to guide planning, strategy, design, and delivery. The second thing is to align experiences across all products, all channels, and all touchpoints to deliver compelling, emotionally resonant moments in every interaction. After all, what a brand does and how it helps consumers in real life is more important than what a brand says. It's that adage of action speaking louder than words. And this leads to another key point. Customer experience and product experience, they're all brand experience. Every interaction at every touch point should be evaluated through the brand lens, and it should be seen as an opportunity and a moment to build stronger emotional connections between the brand and consumers. The third thing we can do is to create new measurement and analytics frameworks that show and directly reveal the impact of brand experiences on both consumer sentiment and the economics of the business. I'm talking about connecting the dots here, and it can be done. For nearly a decade, I've led work along these lines to figure out why consumers watch TV shows, how they choose a broadband provider, to identify which ads really do drive sales and how many, and how to build media plans that sway likely voters. Actionable insights can be surfaced if you know how, possess the right data, and act on a genuine interest and curiosity to learn more about your consumers and your market. I challenge all leaders to reconnect to their brand's roots. Rethink how your brand meets consumers where they are across all touch points and how to deliver incredible experiences that build lasting emotional connections. Invest in data, analytics, and insights leaders who understand consumer behavior and who can build the confidence to make new bets and take bold decisions. If we can make progress on just a few of these things, if we can do them better, then we'll up our impact and we'll do good. Emotionally rich, reciprocal, and resonant experiences are necessary for the long-term and lasting economic growth of brands. Let's assure that remains the case and work together to eliminate experience debt that threatens the relationships between us as consumers and the brands we love. I'm Eric Duell. Thanks for joining Do Good by Doing Better. Subscribe at dogoodbydoingbetter.com or wherever you get your podcasts. Upgrade to a paid subscription on Substack for early access to new posts, special content, and to chat with the subscriber community. And I'd love an email or voice memo on how you up impact. Send them to stories@dogoodbydoingbetter.com. Talk with you again soon, and thank you. A production of Elucidate Media, crafted with love for you in Philadelphia.